My point. I didn't vote for the First Step Act because I was afraid this was going to happen. And what I hear you saying is that of the 30,000 that the director released, over 3,000 committed another crime and are back. Here's my question. How come you know that and she doesn't?
Because she's probably looking for...
And the 40,000 people at Bureau of Prisons who are supposed to give us this information don't know.
I'd like to say in all fairness, she's under oath, and I think when you ask for numbers, she wants to make sure she tells you a number she can live with. I have this information. I think it's probably close to being 100% accurate, but I wouldn't say under oath it is. So I think give her a fair opportunity to respond. I mean, it just might not be the type of thing that comes rolling off the tongue.
It's not your job, and I appreciate the information, and I'd like to see the study that shows that. I just don't understand why the director has no idea.
Well,
She didn't say she was uncertain, and she wanted to go back and check. She said, I don't know. And I just find that extraordinary.
I'm assuming since she's under oath, that it's an honest answer.
The supermajority
Yeah.
of our individuals come to
If they're
work
not coming
at
to
our
work, they
institutions.
can't give us the answer. I've gone over. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. This is why people hate government and don't trust government.
Wow. Just wow. Watching Senator Kennedy in this exchange left me stunned. And honestly, it should leave every American shaking their head at how dysfunctional parts of our government really are. Think about this for a second. 30,000 criminals were released under the First Step Act, 30,000. And the person in charge of the Bureau of Prisons can't tell us how many of them committed another crime. 6 years have passed, 40,000 employees under her leadership, billions of dollars spent, and no basic answer to one of the most important questions about public safety. Senator Kennedy did what so many of us wish more senators would do. He cut through the excuses, the bureaucratic fog, and asked the kind of blunt, no-nonsense questions we all want answered. And when those answers didn't come, he called it out. Directly, honestly, and fiercely. This, right here, is why people are losing faith in government. And Kennedy nailed that point. If we can't trust the Bureau of Prisons to track whether releasing 30,000 criminals actually kept people safe, then what can we trust them with? Stick with me, because in this reaction, I'm going to break down exactly why Senator Kennedy's grilling was not just necessary, but powerful. And if you believe in holding leaders accountable, if you believe we deserve answers and not excuses, then hit that subscribe button right now. Let's keep shining a light on these hearings, because this is the kind of truth-telling the country needs.
Director Peters, you're the director of the Bureau of Prisons, is that right?
That's correct, sir.
You used to run the correction system in Oregon, right?
That's correct.
Yeah. Oregon legalized drugs, is that right?
That's correct.
Oregon's about to reverse that, is that correct?
Senator, I'm not familiar with the policy proposed to reverse that.
Oh, you just ignored Oregon?
Oregon still has a very special place in my heart, sir.
Okay. You haven't read any of the articles about the reversal?
I haven't, Senator.
You don't know anything about it?
Correct, sir.
Okay, wow. You're in charge of implementing the First Step Act, Director?
That's correct.
How many criminals have you released under the First Step Act?
So First Step Act for the overall release since the initiation of the First Step Act is, I have that exact number in front of me.
You don't know off the top of your head?
Sorry, Senator. So 70% of those that were released, we have about 30,000 individuals that have been released since the passage of the First Step Act.
All right, so you've released 30,000 criminals under the First Step Act. Okay? And how many of them, before you released them, did you contact any of their victims to say we're about to let this guy out?
Senator, it's my understanding that that notification happens through the U.S. Attorney's Office, but I will check into that and get back to you.
You don't know?
Senator, I don't.
Have you followed up with the U.S. attorneys to say, do you have a system to say, hey, we're about to let this guy out? Would we want to be sure the victim's contacted?
As a former victim's advocate, I share that value, that victim notification should happen. I'll check on the process.
But you don't know if it's happening?
That's correct, Senator.
Wow. Okay, of the 30,000 criminals you let free, how many of them have come back? have committed a crime again, hurt somebody else?
So that number is one that we're still looking at as it relates to the recidivism rate for those that were released on the First Step Act.
You don't have any idea?
No, Senator.
You don't have anybody at the Bureau that can count?
I do not have that number in front of me today,
So let me get
Senator.
this straight. The First Step Act was passed in 2018. This is 2024. Am I right so far?
That's correct.
That's 6 years. And in 6 years, you've let 30,000 criminals go, right?
That's correct.
And you don't have the slightest idea how many of them committed another crime and came back.
I don't have that number in front of me today,
And you
sir.
run the Bureau of Prisons.
That's correct.
And how many employees do you have?
About 40,000 employees.
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. General, I know you got a lot to do, but could you give us a hand here? And let's find out whether the First Step Act worked. And how many, if we've released 30,000 criminals after 6 years, our director here doesn't know how many have committed another crime and come back? Can you help us?
My bottom line point on it was, I've often looked to those questions on things like compassionate release and other programs. And one of the challenges we found is the department just doesn't have good data on that. Halfway houses. Congress is spending about $500 million a year on halfway houses. There's really not great recidivism data on that either. How well are they working?
Before we do this, we need to find out. Look, I believe in justice. I believe in treating everybody fairly. But there are people out there, I don't know why, if I make it to heaven, I'm going to ask. They're not mixed up. They're not confused. They're not sick. It's not that their mama or daddy didn't love them or not enough. They just hurt other people, and they take other people's stuff, and we have to separate them from society. And the director let 30,000 of these folks go and can't tell me today how many have come back. I just find it takes my breath away. With 40,000 people. How many of your 40,000 people are actually coming to work or are still working from home, Director?
The supermajority of our employees come to work every day because we're running 24/7
What percentage are coming to work every day?
The percentage is quite high. I don't have the exact
You don't
number,
know?
But
Well, maybe there's your problem.
the supermajority of our individuals come to
If
work
they're not coming
at
to
our
work, they
institutions.
can't give us the answer. I've gone over. I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. This is why people hate government and don't trust government.
So I'd like to respond concerning the Grassley-Durbin First Step Act signed into law by President
I
Donald
thought you
Trump.
might have a response.
By President Donald Trump. I almost want to repeat that because this notion that it's soft on crime, I don't consider Chuck Grassley soft on crime. I don't consider Donald Trump soft on crime. Let me tell you the numbers that we have. Some 30,000 released. The recidivism rate for people released under the First Step Act is 12.4%. 7 out of every 8 individuals released under the law have not been rearrested or charged with a new crime. By comparison, DOJ estimates that in the decade before the First Step Act was passed, 43% of the people formerly incarcerated in BOP were rearrested within 3 years of their release. Is the First Step Act working? I would submit it is.
Would you yield for a question, Mr. Chair?
When I finish.
I'm sorry.
The point
Excuse me for interrupting.
The point I'm making is we decided with the Trump administration and Senator Grassley's leadership that we were going to take a different approach to releasing people from prison. We would give them an opportunity to be trained, educated, skilled, in many ways more prepared for release. Because 80%, I believe, in the system are going to be released someday. We don't want to commit another crime or create another victim. I would submit this is a success. Don't put your head in a bag, or whatever Senator suggested. Stand up tall and try to make it better, and I'm ready to do that. But the First Step Act was a constructive reform of the penal system, and I think it was a good idea and stand by it. I'll submit to your question.
Thank you. And I appreciate, as usual, Dick, you make good points. Here's my point. I didn't vote for the First Step Act because I was afraid this was going to happen. And what I hear you saying is that of the 30,000 that the director released, over 3,000 committed another crime and are back. Here's my question. How come you know that and she doesn't?
Because she's probably looking
And the
for.
40,000 people at Bureau of Prisons who are supposed to give us this information don't know?
I'd like to say in all fairness, she's under oath, and I think when you ask for numbers, she wants to make sure she tells you a number she can live with. I have this information. I think it's probably close to being 100% accurate, but I wouldn't say under oath it is. So I think give her a fair opportunity to respond. I mean, it just might not be the type of thing that comes
But
rolling
you're
off
not,
the tongue.
it's not your job, and I appreciate the information, and I'd like to see the study that shows that. I just don't understand why the director has no idea.
Well-
She didn't say she was uncertain, and she wanted to go back and check. She said, I don't know. And I just find that extraordinary.
I'm assuming since she's under oath, it's an honest answer.
Here's why this moment matters. Senator Kennedy laid out the facts plainly. 30,000 inmates were released under the First Step Act. 6 years have passed since the law was signed. Yet, the Bureau of Prisons doesn't have a shred of concrete data on how many reoffended. Now pause right there. What's the point of reform? What's the point of passing laws if after 6 years the agency responsible can't measure success? That's not just incompetence, it's negligence. Kennedy made it crystal clear these weren't people locked up for forgetting to pay parking tickets. They were in prison for a reason. Serious crimes. Victims suffered. Families were torn apart. And before releasing thousands back onto the streets, the least the Bureau of Prisons should do is know whether these individuals are reoffending. That's not asking for miracles, that's asking for accountability. I thought Kennedy's line about people ought to hide their head in a bag was harsh but absolutely fair. If you're a director standing before Congress with 40,000 staff under your command, and you can't answer the most basic metrics of your job, that is embarrassing. Kennedy wasn't being mean, he was being honest. And sometimes honesty stings. What really stood out to me was how he exposed the disconnect. Senator Durbin tried to defend the program by pulling numbers out of his own notes, saying the recidivism rate was 12.4%. Fine. But Kennedy's question cut deeper. Why does Durbin have the numbers and the director doesn't? That's the point. That's the scandal. If the Bureau of Prisons doesn't even know the numbers, then what else don't they know? And then Kennedy went further, reminding everyone that the First Step Act was sold as safer, smarter reform. But what he's pointing out is that good intentions don't matter if the people in charge can't follow through with real oversight. It's like building a bridge and never checking if it holds cars. You can call it a success all you want, but until you measure, it's just words. I'll be honest, I respect Kennedy's fire here. Too often these hearings turn into soft, pre-planned conversations. But Kennedy brought the heat because he understands what's at stake. This isn't about abstract numbers. It's about real people. Victims, families, communities who might be hurt again because no one bothered to keep track. At the end of the day, whether you supported the First Step Act or not, Kennedy's core point is undeniable. Data matters, accountability matters, and safety matters. If the Bureau of Prisons can't deliver on that, then we're all being let down. That's why this moment hits so hard. Kennedy wasn't just grilling a bureaucrat, he was speaking for millions of Americans who are tired of excuses, tired of wasted money, and tired of leaders who shrug when asked basic questions. And I'll tell you this, if more senators pressed like Kennedy, maybe government wouldn't feel so broken. So, what did you think? Was Senator Kennedy right to press this hard, or do you think he was too tough on the director? Drop your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. If you agree that we need more truth-telling moments like this in Congress, make sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe so we can keep exposing what's really happening in Washington. Because at the end of the day, accountability isn't optional. It's the foundation of trust. And Senator Kennedy just reminded us why.